truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative hid the truth of mass suffering, injustice, and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Howdy, Jordan Sheridan, live Friday, June 12th, 2020. Hope everyone's doing okay right here in the United Corporations of America. If I look like shit, it's because I feel like shit, which I'll tell you about in a little bit. But quite the news day, and frankly, really, really horrible story out of California, which obviously want to wait for facts, but there is a long history of black men in this country showing up hung from trees with police departments claiming they killed themselves. So we're unfortunately going to have to talk about another incident like that out of Palmdale, California. Thank you, Catherine Garrett, getting us started in the super chat. $20 in the super chat. Yeah, always kind of a fine line asking for money while reporting on something like this. But we do appreciate anything you could do in the super chat. Our GoFundMe is still going strong. Not going to sugarcoat it. Status quo, not doing so hot financially. Definitely not, on the brink of destruction or anything. But we have lost a whole lot of members during coronavirus due to people having to cancel, losing their jobs, all that. So a little bit more than usual, we have been trying to push the GoFundMe, since right now it's just very difficult to grow our membership, which is right now standing at 1,803 paid members. We will have our monthly members call next week. I'm thinking Tuesday, because Monday I'm getting a colonoscopy, which, by the way, I mean, the amount of emails you people sent me yesterday with advice for my colon was just out of control. Amazing. And I'm already implementing some of them. Unfortunately, well, I'll get into it later. I don't want to get into my issues with such a serious story. So please, if you can, donate in the GoFundMe or the super chat. We really appreciate it. We are right now less than $12,000 away from our goal of $120,000 in GoFundMe. And remember, please press that like button. Right now we got over 200 people watching. 100 of you have pressed the like button. So the more people that press the like button, the more people that will see this live stream. I know you might not like the story I'm about to talk about, but everybody liking the stream helps get it out to more people. And of course, if you're new here, subscribe. So a couple hours ago, started to see a trending hashtag, justice for Robert Fuller. Obviously, I looked at it, and I'm still, different stories say different things. Some stories say he was 20 years old. Another story says he's 23, so I'm not sure which is which, but a young man, either 20 or 23, was found on June 10th, hung from a tree right near City Hall in Palmdale, California. Palmdale, California is about an hour north of Los Angeles. On Wednesday, a man found hanging from a tree near Palmdale City Hall. As per authorities, the identity of the man is confirmed as Robert Fuller by his family. The 20-year-old man was first seen somewhere near a tree, somewhere around 4 a.m., June 10th, along with a rope around the neck hanging from a tree in Pontchartrain Square. And I'm obviously not from there, but judging by some things I've seen on Twitter, Pontchartrain Square, it's located in a square full of city government buildings, retail shops, and across from the fire station. No way there aren't security cameras. So let's get back to what the police are saying, which frankly I have a hard time believing. Keep pressing that like button. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see this very important story, which could become the next George Floyd. We really don't know. I don't mean to minimize George Floyd, but you never know which one of these stories is going to really just explode. The police department's Lieutenant Brandon Dean of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Homicide Bureau Department confirmed the details. He says everything is hinting towards suicide, but the reason will be confirmed once full autopsy reports are available. The report will also look up for the man's past mental issues. On Thursday, Palmdale City authorities made a statement. Sincere condolences and sympathies, blah, 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 blah. Let me read another article about this. Dean said the Fuller's death appears to be a suicide, but the actual reason will be confirmed once a full autopsy report is made available. Despite suggestions that Fuller's death was a suicide, many people are not convinced. The hashtag Justice for Robert Fuller started trending on Twitter as folks called for a deeper investigation into Fuller's death. Quote, a black man was found hung by a tree near City Hall in my hometown of Palmdale, California, wrote one Twitter user. Officials were so quick to rule his death as a suicide. Why the fuck would he kill himself in front of City Hall? We need answers, footage, quickly. And this story has a couple tweets in there. Authorities not only linked Fuller's death to a suicide, but they also suggested the coronavirus pandemic might have something to do with his death. In a Thursday statement, the Palmdale City authorities said, quote, sincere condolences and sympathies to the family and friends of the individual who tragically passed away in Palmdale. Our thoughts and prayers are with them. They added, quote, sadly, it's not the first such incident since the COVID-19 pandemic began. So many people pointed out that Fuller's suicide comes at a time of heightened racial tension as people have been protesting police and anti-black violence. So what's interesting to me there's a lot of things interesting to me, and there's a lot of things that smell fishy to me, just as a journalist. It seems that the police, if they have, they must have some type of evidence to suggest this was a suicide. You would think a note that could be proven to be his handwriting. If they have social media posts, cameras, you would think there's some cameras near City Hall, retail shops, that sort of thing. By the way, we got over 300 people watching, 193 likes. Please press that like button. So when they say we're leaning towards suicide, you would think that they have some evidence for that suggestion, particularly at a time where a black guy hanging by a tree in City Hall, near City Hall, considering the marches going on around this country still to this day, that's not going to just get swept under the rug. I mean, you better have some evidence to suggest a suicide. Like I said, a note, camera footage, social media post. The second thing is, when they say, sadly, this isn't the first incident we have seen during COVID of people taking their life, well, are there multiple incidents in the area of people taking their life hanging by a tree at 4 a.m? We don't know exactly when he was hung by the tree. That's just when they first found him. Gina G, 4.99. Thanks for the super chat. At a Palmdale school, 4 teachers posed with a noose. Palmdale is near the Mojave Desert, and it's racist as fuck there. Yeah, I'm actually going to read you a couple articles that show there's a history of white supremacy gangs in that area of Palmdale, California. So, listen, the fact that the police are automatically leaking to the media, oh, we're going to look into his mental health, would suggest they have reason to think maybe he had depression, anxiety, things like that. But even someone with depression, anxiety, there are people who don't have histories of mental illness suffering from anxiety and depression during this pandemic. It's a pretty specific, extreme thing as a suicide to hang yourself by a tree, specifically near City Hall. My lovely girlfriend does this for a living, investigating white supremacy, jihadi threats. No, she's not part of the deep state. She does it for a private organization. That seems to me, Anat, to be more of a message. Somebody hung by a tree near City Hall. Am I right? Am I wrong?
Yeah,
Symbolic. Because we know throughout our history, there's a lot of black men that have been hung by trees and lynched in this country. And short of a suicide note that matches his handwriting, short of testimonies by friends, family, that his depression was getting out of control, that he was suicidal, which I haven't heard anything yet. You're telling me that as police brutality, black empowerment protests are going on around this country and actually seeing improvements? Tell me if the volume's okay. I see a couple people saying volume could be a little higher. Let me see. 1 second. Microphone. Let me know if the volume is better now. Let me know if the volume is better now. Hopefully it is. So, I'm a journalist, so I don't want to just presume what happened. But to me, I really, of course, a white person or a black person could kill themselves. Suicide is a common thing. But what doesn't make sense to me is, why would this man hang himself by a tree as finally there's some progress? I mean, not the progress we need, but white people are finally on the front lines along with black people on an ongoing basis. You're seeing police departments around the country finally saying, okay, we'll do some reforms. It's not enough. It's not enough. Oh, now I'm bursting your eardrums? Hold on. All right, let me know if that's a little better. So, I don't believe that this man hung himself by a tree. And I think if he did, and they had evidence that it was suicide, this is now 2 days ago. In this climate, where there is a giant microscope on black men being killed in this country, where very few black men getting killed in this country by police are being swept under the rug right now, if they had evidence, you would think it would be out pretty much immediately. But we don't hear anything from the Palmdale Police Department other than we're leaning towards a suicide, thoughts and prayers. I think if they had a note, I think if they had camera footage, I think if they had friends, family saying, yeah, his mood and all that was going downhill, we'd probably know something by now. Thank you for the super chat. Annette Worley, $1.99, $10. Appreciate it. Alex Endicott, $10. Thank you for breaking this story. I didn't break it. I saw it on Twitter. So I want to read you the history of this area too, because it is pretty rampant with white supremacy groups. And keep pressing that like button. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see this live stream. And by the way, if some things I say don't make sense, it's because I didn't sleep at all last night, which I'll tell you about later. Los Angeles is cracking down on a notable white supremacist gang. This is from 2017. For years, a white supremacist gang known as the San Fernando Valley Peckerwoods has caused chaos in several neighborhoods in Los Angeles. Members of the gang have allegedly sold drugs and guns, been involved in robbery and identity theft, and threatened black communities. In 2013, one Peckerwood member exploded a pipe bomb directly across the street from a middle school in an attempt to kill a rival, according to city officials. Now LA is fighting back. City officials filed a series of lawsuits last month seeking injunctions against members of the gang from operating out of several houses in the San Fernando Valley. Officials could force property owners to evict members of the Peckerwoods. City Attorney Mike Foyer called the lawsuits a new front in the fight against white supremacist groups and says the actions were motivated in part by growing reports of hate crimes. Quote, they bring with them, of course, the toxic mix of violence and crime and hate. The lawsuits against the white supremacists name specific members of the Peckerwoods and specific properties they operate out of. The alleged gang members will now go to court to defend themselves. If a judge agrees with the city that the gang is a, quote, nuisance, the defendants would be prevented from living in the house. But that's very different from how officials have fought black and Latino gangs across Los Angeles. For 25 years, the city's anti-gang policies have provoked criticisms from civil rights groups for sweeping up young minority men who are in some cases not associated with gangs at all. So I want to read you another one because this is from 2018. I found a story about the same gang from the 1990s in this area. Two men authorities say are affiliated with a white supremacist group were arrested late Tuesday on suspicion of assaulting an African-American Walmart worker who approached a white woman in the store's parking lot. Nathaniel Harris, 20, was rounding up shopping carts at the Lancaster Walmart when he thought he recognized a 20-year-old woman as a former high school classmate, said LA County Sheriff. Harris asked the woman if the two had been classmates, angering her boyfriend, Sean Broderick, and their companion, Christopher Crawford. Broderick walked to his car, pulled out a 20-ounce hammer, and confronted Harris, yelling threats, obscenities, and racial epithets. Grasping the hammer with both hands, Broderick swung at Harris and hit him in the shoulder, Anderson said. Harris fought back and was wrestling with Broderick on the ground, authorities say, when Crawford joined in, kicking and hitting Harris. Anderson said the two suspects are affiliated with the Antelope Valley's Nazi lowriders gang and that had both had criminal records. They are expected to be arraigned today on felony charges. Officials involved in monitoring hate crimes say 3 white supremacist groups, the Palmdale Peckerwoods, remember, Robert Fuller was found hanging by a tree in Palmdale, California, the Metal Mines and the Nazi lowriders are responsible for most of the violence that has steadily increased in the 1990s. In its most recent report, Los Angeles County Human Relations Commission found that hate crimes rose nearly 20% in the Antelope Valley in 1996 alone. So you're talking over 20 years ago. This Peckerwood gang was around, and then 2 years ago, again, incidents with this Peckerwood gang. You know, to be clear, I don't have any evidence of this. I'm just giving you the background of what's going on here in this area. Thank you for the super chat. Sarah Chun, $9.99. Helping how I can. We need you guys. This headline made me tear up. Hashtag anti-racist ally. Thank you. I appreciate the super chat. And if you can, try not to push it too much because it's a very serious topic. Keep it coming in the GoFundMe. Thank you so much. Catherine Garrett, $20 a few minutes ago. Cecilia, $20 a couple minutes ago. So we're now at $108,225. So we are less than $12,000 from the ultimate goal. And we are looking into our next trip. I'm leaning towards Louisville, Kentucky. Just got to make sure, we're literally looking at things day by day. as far as coronavirus, because there is an increase all over the country, including in Kentucky. They're seeing cases increase. I have had coronavirus. Frankly, I don't think even the experts know if you could get it twice. Also want to make sure we're not putting Jamal, our camera person, in too much danger. So I'll keep you posted. The thought of going to Louisville is to cover the aftermath of Breonna Taylor's murder, who was murdered by police while she was in bed sleeping. The police files just came out showing that police pretty much made up what happened. Under injury, again, she died. They said none. And they put a lot of other things on the report that was not true. Also thinking of Louisville because June 23rd, so about a week and a half from now, you have the Democratic primary where Charles Booker right now looks like he could upset Democratic establishment pick Amy McGrath. So possibly go to Louisville, Kentucky to cover both of those stories. And keep it coming in the Super Chat and the GoFundMe if you can. Press the like button. We're at 421 viewers, 325 likes. So, again, until we have camera footage, until we have more evidence in terms of Robert's social media, hearing from his friends and family to know what his mind state was, we can't just go with our immediate instinct, which is to think this is just a straight up lynching. I mean, you can, but I have to, I'm a journalist, so I have to look for some facts and evidence. But I find it very hard to believe at this current point, with all these protests going on, with solidarity from white people, finally consistent solidarity beyond hashtags from white people for our black brothers and sisters in the streets. You're seeing white, it doesn't sound like anything, but, the ABC show The Bachelor, finally, after, I think, 2 decades on air, choosing a black man to be The Bachelor. Companies starting to, you're seeing white board members resign from boards and urging a black person to replace them. So what we're seeing, it's not enough by any means. I told you yesterday, I hope the protest movement evolves into making economic demands and leveraging economic boycott to get what we need. Don't want to be a white guy telling black people how to conduct their protest, but you'll see real change as soon as Amazon and other members of the United Corporations of America see their profits go down. Then you'll see real change because Jeff Bezos and the other oligarchs running the government will call their puppets, Trump, Biden, Mitch McConnell, Pelosi, all of them, and say, you better do something for those black people because we don't like these strikes. But the bottom line is, this happened on June 10th. It is now June 12th. If it was a suicide, you're going to see some evidence that it was a suicide. You're going to see, was there a note? Was there cameras? Are there more than one set of footprints? Obviously, I would assume they've spoken with his family, friends. Have there been more threats on social media from white supremacy groups in that area? Because there's a lot of white supremacy groups right now on overdrive online. They do not like black people marching around the country. They do not like white people marching with black people around the country. They do not like their Confederate statues being toppled, which their president, Donald Trump, is dog whistling, saying, no, we're not going to remove any Confederate. We're not removing or changing names of U.S. bases around the country that might be named after Confederate soldiers. No. Green Lady won $5 in the Super Chat. I appreciate the live coverage and giving us the context. Black Lives Matters. Thanks, Green-Eyed Lady. And by the way, I don't want to confirm, but we might have a freelance journalist up there tomorrow in Palmdale, California, to report on this. Tina Desiree Berg, who has done some reporting for us out of LA. I spoke with her before I came live, and she might go up there tomorrow because I would anticipate you're going to see some protests and demands for answers. Because again, without a note, without camera footage, I think it would be foolish to just believe that the police say this is a suicide. And let's be honest, folks. Let's be honest. If the police don't have evidence that it's a suicide, maybe it wasn't. Maybe the police had nothing to do. If you give the police the benefit of the doubt, they might have had nothing to do with this man being hung. But let's say they have suspicion that this was a white supremacy gang. You think they want the next epicenter of the protest movement to be in their neighborhood? You think if they could get away with calling it a suicide, even if there's evidence to suggest there's foul play, after what we just saw in Minneapolis with the original police officers totally lying about what happened to George Floyd? They said, they left out of the police report the whole Derek Chauvin kneeling his knee into Floyd's neck for almost 9 minutes. Kind of left that out of the police report. It just was written, oh, Mr. Floyd had some medical distress. Well, how did he get that medical distress? Breonna Taylor, I just reported yesterday. Under the police report, under injuries, they said none. They also pretended that they did announce themselves as police and did knock on the door, even though they rammed in with no notice, which they just banned no-knock arrests, no-knock search warrants in Louisville because of that. Color me cynical Susie, I don't necessarily trust the police to tell the truth after what we've seen. I give you Rahm Emanuel in Chicago. I give you the Chicago Police Department, period. I give you the New York City Police Department. So we'll definitely be on this, for sure. Things could change hour by hour. I will be happy to come on the air and say, listen, they produced evidence. It checks out. If there's a note, if there's footage. But also, it's not like the easiest thing to go hang yourself from a tree by yourself. That's just, it's not that easy at 4 a.m. It doesn't make sense to me. And what better symbol for white supremacists who are outraged at black people fighting back, outraged at their symbols of white power, the Confederate statues coming down, statues of Christopher Columbus coming down, which, by the way, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has a problem with because apparently it's nasty to Italians. Just like Epstein killed himself. Well, that's bullshit. Epstein did not kill himself. We all know this. So we'll see, but we'll keep covering it. And for those of you that have been paying attention to the channel, we've been all over the place. Holy cow! Thank you very much. Anonymous, $50 in the GoFundMe. Tony, $10 in the GoFundMe. We are now at $108,285. Really, really appreciate the support. Straight up, it has not been cheap. We have reported in Los Angeles from protests. We've reported in Oakland, California from protests. We've reported in Philadelphia from protests, Minneapolis from protests, D.C. from protests, and me in New York. And we've obviously been paying freelancers all over the country and happy to do it. So we really appreciate you supporting us so we could do this kind of coverage. So we don't even have the results of the autopsy yet. That's another thing I should have brought up. We don't have an autopsy yet, or the results from an autopsy. So we shall see. We shall see. So from one story that smells like fish, smells fishy to me, to another one that is definitely bullshit, let me tell you something. As Joe Biden continues to struggle to basically speak, as I showed you yesterday, Donald Trump's administration is just straight up lying to you about the coronavirus and willingly lying to you to the point where you will not have the right information and you might go out there thinking, oh, things aren't that bad. Yeah, there's a little increase here or there in cases, but for the most part, things are fine. Take a look at Larry Kudlow, Trump's chief economic advisor, this morning on the Fox propaganda show, Fox and Friends.
Time to take some profits.
Well, it's probably a little bit of both. Those are both good points. Look, I'm not the health expert, but on the so-called spike, I spoke to our health experts at some length last evening. They are saying there is no second spike. Let me repeat that. There is no second spike. And as Secretary Mnuchin said yesterday in testimony, and I totally agree, we are not going to shut down the economy. What you do have is certain spots are seeing a little bit of a jump up. Some small metropolitan areas are seeing it. The CDC and the health people are all over it. They've sent some task forces out to deal with it. You know, nowadays we have much better equipment, much more experience, much more testing. I mean, the testing itself has jumped up, so you're going to get a little more positivity from that. But if you look nationally, important point is the rate of increase of new cases is between 0 and 1%. It's really flattened out. And with respect to fatalities, it's the same. It's actually lower than that. It's like 0 to 0.5%. So if I can calm fears, again, I'm not the health expert. Ambassador Birx may be out and about later today. Nonetheless, there is no emergency. There is no second wave. I don't know where that got started on Wall Street.
No emergency, says Donald Trump's economic advisor. No emergency. The so-called second wave. Gotta love just straight up. I mean, this is the post-truth error. This is the post-truth error, but it's the post-truth error at the risk of your life. I know nobody wants to go back and stay in their home. I don't want to stay. And my girlfriend and I have been talking. It's just, a lot of people have it worse. But, being in a, 1,000 square foot apartment pretty much all day, it's not fun. We need a change of environment. It zaps your productivity. It zaps your, I feel lethargic a lot of the time. Depression sinks in, anxiety, things like that. But the bottom line is, I don't know what health experts Larry Kudlow is citing when cases are increasing in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 states. The so-called spike? Florida, which just opened up beaches, sees record single-day rise in coronavirus cases. San Antonio entering a second wave. Novel coronavirus cases in Florida and Texas have seen significant spikes this week. Florida reported a record 1,698 new cases on Thursday. Part of Texas, including San Antonio, are seeing a very large increase in cases, and we are entering a second wave, a health official in Texas warned. Arizona, coronavirus cases nearly double since Memorial Day as state nears hospital capacity. In many parts of the U.S., Vox writes, COVID appears to be surging. It is a grim reminder that the country has not beaten the coronavirus pandemic that has taken more than 110,000 American lives. Moreover, the national numbers obscure the state and local trends that have public health experts worried. I mean, do you see that middle circle getting bigger? The original pandemic epicenters, namely New York City and a couple neighboring states like New Jersey, have seen a steady decline in cases and deaths since a mid-April peak, but new hotspots are emerging. Arizona, for one, is seeing increased hospitalizations. More tests are coming back positive for COVID, and the rate of new infections as a share of the state's population is quite high. Outbreaks are picking up in parts of the country that were spared the worst of the pandemic initially because, first, they were lucky the virus did not arrive there early, and second, they instituted social distancing policies before their outbreaks could grow out of control. Some states are starting to see a worrying combination of trends in their new COVID data. Not only are case numbers rising, but hospitalizations are increasing and the share of tests that come back positive has gone up, all of which suggests the coronavirus is spreading in the community. Yet at the same time, states are relaxing their stay-at-home orders, businesses are opening, and people are socializing. The protests against police violence could also have been vectors for COVID spread, though it's still too early to be sure how significant their effect will be.
It said that the big sell-off thought, you know what, this might be a good time.
But on the so-called spike, I spoke to our health experts at some length last evening. They are saying there is no second spike. Let me repeat that. There is no second spike. And as Secretary Mnuchin said yesterday in testimony, and I totally agree, we are not going to shut down the economy. What you do have is certain spots are seeing a little bit of a jump up. Some small metropolitan areas are seeing it.
You know, at a certain point, and by the way, we got 500 people watching, 436 of you have pressed that like button. So keep pressing that like button if you can. We really appreciate it. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. We're almost at 82,000 subscribers. And if you can, we could only grow for the long term how many members we have. Sign up as a member, statuscoup.com/join. You could sign up for as low as 16 cents a day. That would be $5 a month. And we're shooting to have our monthly members call on Tuesday of next week. So you know the drill. If you're a member, you'll get the link to join our Zoom call. It's always a lot of fun. So let me get something very, very clear. And, you know, maybe I'm biased because my father, God bless him, watches this shit all day, Fox News. So you have Fox News viewers, and it's not just Fox News. The Trump administration is sending out this message all over the place that the economy is reopening and yeah, the cases are going up because we're doing more testing. Even though we're still not doing. Health experts, not the imaginary ones that Larry Kudlow is speaking to, but health experts that are not on the White House payroll, and Fauci and Deborah Birx have been honest throughout the process, give them credit, have been saying we're still not doing enough testing. You had people getting together on Memorial Day. Well, it's now about a week and a half since Memorial Day, so it makes sense that you would be seeing massive spikes after all these people were congregating on Memorial Day. We obviously have seen the protests, which I covered. You're not going to tell people not to protest because black people are facing two pandemics. You're either going to die from COVID or from cops. So I'm not going to criticize people protesting, but obviously we were going to see spikes. But it's extremely dangerous when you have the elected government, Trump, and his advisors who are appointed just minimizing and lying to the people about the true nature of the threat. The truth is, we don't know, we really don't know if we're entering a second wave. We don't know if that second wave is going to be slower than the first wave. We don't know if it's going to end up being worse than the first wave because all of these people have been packed like sardines all over the country protesting. Now at beaches, we just don't know. And unfortunately, when you have someone like Trump who puts his reelection over lives, which just so happens to be screwing his reelection, whether you like it or not, if the election were held today, Joe Biden would win by a lot. If it were held today, there's still a lot of time for Joe Biden to screw it up. All you have to do is look at him trying to speak full sentences in public which I showed you yesterday. He was struggling. By the way, apologies. I got people criticizing me. I did not know what Black Wall Street meant. I looked it up, so I apologize. Now I know what Black Wall Street meant. Obviously, during the Tulsa riots, a very affluent neighborhood, one of the few affluent black neighborhoods at that time, was basically burned down. So I didn't, I don't know everything, so don't send me mean emails if I don't know something. Kindly guide me to what it is. Thank you. And thank you, John, $9.99 in the Super Chat. Thanks to the coup, I went from engineer to addict to homeless to prison to recovery and now back to an engineer again. Your show has helped inspire me and keep my focus through the climb back up. Well, John, that's one of the nicest things I've heard in a long time. I'm glad you are climbing back up. I've covered homelessness in Portland, in Los Angeles, and other places, and I like hearing stories like yours. We would have a lot more stories like that if we actually invested federal funds in trying to lift people out of homelessness and dire straits rather than criminalizing and punishing them. So I'm glad you're doing a little bit better. Thanks for the Super Chat. Thank you for the GoFundMe. Tony, $10. Thomas, $20. We're now at $108,305. Keep it coming if you can. That would be $695 away from $109,000 raised. So keep it coming in the GoFundMe. So the bottom line is, whether it's Larry Kudlow, whether it's Steve Mnuchin saying we're not going to be closing down the economy again, whether it's Trump, throwing his hands in the air that he can't have the GOP convention in North Carolina, and the governor of North Carolina rightly wouldn't let them have it without masks. This is really dangerous because you're going to have a lot of Fox News viewers, a lot of right-wingers, just going out and about because Trump, his puppets that pretend to be journalists at Fox News, are telling them, yeah, it's just small increases, nothing to worry about. Go to the bar, go to the barbecue restaurant, stuff your fucking face, you'll be fine. Not to minimize, not that all Fox News viewers are just barbecue, restaurant, motorcycle gang idiots, because one of them is my father and he's neither. But this is serious, folks. Like, I'm showing you the evidence. This is not minor increases. You're seeing massive increases in several states. And oh, by the way, you notice that Arizona and Florida, two of the states I just noticed, those are the states that went ahead and had held primaries during a pandemic. It wasn't just the Republicans cheering that on. Joe Biden said, yes, the primary should go on in these states. Linda, I'd rather wear a mask than a ventilator. Yeah, me too. By the way, if you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe. YouTube hides us in a cave, so we appreciate it. You could also follow us with the rest of the cool kids on the Instagram, instagram.com/statuscoup, trying to grow there. So we'll see. I think it's very, very dangerous. I also think, look, where cases are mostly the same: Michigan, Georgia, Iowa, Mississippi, Kansas, New Mexico, Idaho, Guam. Well, Georgia just held elections in person. It was a clusterfuck, a lot of voter suppression, shock in Georgia. That Georgia might move up to the increase column. These other states where, you have a lot of conservative people, Trump supporters, that might be listening to Trump, to his advisors, might say, oh, well, they say it's improving. They say it's not a massive increase. Why don't we go out to eat tonight? Why don't we go out to the bar? Why don't we go to the mall? Why don't we go here? Why don't we go there? Why don't we go to the beach? It's sunny out. Nobody wants to be home. So how many of these right here are going to be moving up to the increase? And the most dangerous thing about all this, folks, the most dangerous thing about all this, it does not matter how bad it gets. Doesn't matter how many states you see massive increases. Donald Trump is showing you The days of listening to Fauci, the days of listening to Deborah Birx, the days of even caring how many people die are over. He is hatching his wagon to the culture war, the race war. You know, it's intentional what he's doing, holding a rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma on Juneteenth. Tulsa, Oklahoma. Google it. One of the worst race riots and murderous scenes of the murder of black people in American history. So he's hatching his wagons to what helped him get elected. Yes, racism was part of his election. It wasn't the whole thing, but it was a lot of it. And he's got sociopaths all around him, and they don't seem to have as their priority how many people are going to die. Hizzle, I'm in Florida. We have Trumpers trying to ridicule people wearing masks. It's truly, and you know, I don't give Biden credit on many things, but credit to him. At least he's wearing a mask out there. At least he's showing some forms of leadership. It's asinine that wearing a mask during a deadly pandemic has become a partisan issue. It just shows anything could be politicized, and the victims are conservatives who are listening to this stuff. But most importantly, everybody, because it's the Trump supporters who are going to go out and more casually gather that are going to infect the people that are being more cautious. Trust me, I was wearing a mask when I went out and I still got coronavirus. There's a lot of people who have taken the precautions that still got coronavirus. So we'll see. We shall see what happens. Let me see. So, before I go, can I take a quick audience poll? Keep those super chats coming. Keep those GoFundMes coming. Where would you like Status Quo to go next? We are an in the field, independent, journalistic outlet. So I'm thinking of going to Kentucky next for the reasons I told you. But is there anywhere else you think we need to go and things to cover? Leave it in the chat right now so we could have a discussion. Because if there's not a massive increase all over the country, I'm thinking of heading out possibly at the end of next week on our next story. I've told you some of the things on my list, including going to Navajo Nation, Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, to cover coronavirus's disastrous effects on the largest Native American tribe in the country. Seattle, possibly. We see what's going on with that autonomous zone where protesters have basically seized 6 blocks, which used to be the Seattle Police Department's East Precinct. Swirly Swirl, $5, go to Chaz. You know, Swirly Swirl, let me give you the behind the scenes. Let me give you the behind the scenes deliberations that happen here. You gotta be careful about booking flights, booking flights, hotels, all these things, because Chaz is one of those stories that we could book it and go there in 3 days and it gets busted up that day and it's done. So we're not a large enough outlet. You know, if it's still going on for another week, then I'd feel more comfortable that, all right, this thing is going to go for a while. But Trump is talking about, trying to get rid of the protesters from that Seattle area. So I don't want to book tickets for Jamal and I, costing us the flights, hotels, rent a car, all of it that goes into these trips, if I don't know for sure if that community is going to be still up in 3 or 4 days from now. So that's part of why I'm a little hesitant with Chaz, because we have done that. We have booked trips before just on the hope that the story was still there when we got there, and unfortunately, it was over. That is one of the things we're thinking about doing. So if you know of any good independent journalists in the Seattle area, tell them to email info@statusquo.com, info@statusquo.com. So we could get in touch with them. If you've noticed, we've been having more and more freelancers go live all over the country from protests and other places. I love viewers, I love activists, but we are looking for some people with a little bit of journalism experience. Go to Israel to see the training our police are getting for $50,000 each. It's an interesting idea. Interesting idea. My girlfriend was born in Israel, actually. She was born in Israel. I don't know how to pronounce that name, but thanks for the $2. Drive nonstop and bum it in your car and tents. Why, thank you. I don't have a car, but we're thinking about getting one for the company if we could raise funds. Got to continue raising funds. That's the truth. And just so you know, for those of you that are new here, it's not like we have $108,000 sitting there. We've used a lot of that money that you have graciously funded us for to go all over this country. And Colin, we got to update the map because we've been to a few more places since this last version. So we don't just talk and ask for money, we walk the walk. We've been all over the country, and the only reason we haven't been out the last few months is the obvious, the coronavirus. Safer to drive than fly, Jordan. Yes, Kelly, but there's let's get into, I didn't want to talk about it at first because we were dealing with such a sensitive topic, but let's get into, maybe I'll make a graphic for as my body fails. So I've had 2 back surgeries in the last 2.5 years, so I'm not really interested in driving from New York to Seattle or New York to Minneapolis. I would drive far for a good story, but it's just not that great for someone with, right now, knock on wood, my back's doing pretty good. A lot better than it was doing 2 years ago. But sitting in a car for 20 plus hours, not so good if you have back problems. Secondly, I appreciate all of the emails I got yesterday for the constipation problems I've had. If you're new here, I do occasionally enter into the TMI category. So I started the magnesium again today, thanks to one viewer's suggestion. Somebody talked about a green superfood powder, which I want to get. So the other problem going on, so you're going to have to keep this in mind if you watch me for the next few weeks. After consulting with my doctor, I'm stopping my nighttime medication that I've taken for 5 years for sleep. If you care to know, trazodone, which is also an antidepressant, but it also works for sleep. So I've been taking trazodone for 5 years. I don't remember the last time I have slept more than 4 straight hours without trazodone. But I'm doing Have You Pooped Yet? Yes, I have pooped. And I did get the Smooth Move tea, but my girlfriend wouldn't let me have it earlier because she didn't want me to poop while I was live. So I'm going to take it. So I'm going to take it after the live stream. Yes, I am giving a constipation update. Leave a super chat if you like. So here's the other problem, though. We're experimenting, seeing if I get off the trazodone. If I get off the trazodone, will that help me go to the bathroom more regularly? So far, I won't give you a play-by-play, but so far, so good. The problem is I could not sleep last night. I could not sleep. I might have fallen asleep for a half hour before waking up continually. I tossed and turned. I took 10 milligrams of melatonin about an hour before bed. So Russia Bot agreed. Jordan's whining is not good journalism. Then go away, Russia Bot. If you don't like a little humanity with your journalism, piss off. Mike Blair, $5. Crapricot, super chat. Appreciate it. So I don't know. I don't know if it's just going to take me a long time to... Oh, thank you. Steve Mnuchin just left $5. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for destroying the country and robbing our treasury. But I don't know. It might just take a very long time for my body to get used to sleeping without trazodone. CBD, I've heard. So going to try a bunch of things. But I am a little tired because I haven't slept without trazodone for a long time. Try ashwagandha. We love you, Jordan. Jordan, don't take high doses of melatonin. Try guided meditation. Status poop. Status poo. Go to Maine for cheap lobster and Betsy Sweet. We have been talking about going to Maine. We have been talking.
You have to quarantine for 2 weeks.
I have to quarantine for 2 weeks if I go to Maine. Jordan reporting his TMI segment. That's true. You want to know something? I do believe that truth on the internet, there's a demand for truth and TMI on the internet. Jordan, it just takes time. It's been 1 day. Increase your melatonin by 5 milligrams. You tell me to take 15 milligrams of melatonin? I mean, I want to wake up, James. How much melatonin can one take? Jordan, try chamomile tea before bed. You see, that's the other problem. I got the prostate of a 90-year-old, so if I have tea right before bed, I'll be up to pee. I'm thinking tea around like 6 o'clock. Zane Raval, $4.99. Jordan, I have a C6-7 fusion, an artificial disc, C5-6, and my neck fused to the wires in my neck from my spinal cord stimulator. Now I have a morphine pump. Holy shit. Zane, be careful with that morphine. Can I get some? Just kidding. Yeah, mine was, what is it? L5, S1 I had surgery on twice. So the last disc and your S1 on your sciatic. Jennifer, check $5 of the super chat. Thank you. CBDJ. Yeah, I might try CBD at night. LJL, $10. Lemon water in the AM is a game changer. I also advise upping your fiber intake and make sure you're drinking enough water. Status poop. I am definitely drinking a lot of water. And thank you for the super chat. So that's all I got. Appreciate the super chats. Appreciate the GoFundMes. Appreciate the emails for my constipation, and I assume now for the insomnia. The truth is, with my wonderful girlfriend, I wasn't always the best eater. She's making me better. She's a real health, person. So we'll see what happens. But in the short experiment, I have gone to the bathroom more. Now we just got to get the sleep improving. I will think about the CBD because I know there's different strands for sleep. So, thanks for watching. Make sure if you're not subscribed to this channel. Make sure if you haven't yet done so, join our text list. Text COUP to 370-370. We sent out a text for this live stream. And keep on growing the community. Tell your friends, tell your families to subscribe. We appreciate all of you. We will talk. I will see you. I'm not sure if I'm going to be live Sunday, but you could look around. Look between noon and 12:30 Eastern, because that's when I would be live if I go live on Sunday. Noon to 12:30 Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. If I'm going live, that's when I'll be live. Jordan, increase the melatonin until you are actually sleeping. The number of mg doesn't matter. All that matters is that you actually see results. See, I fell asleep. It's staying asleep. So that's what I got to figure out. All right, folks. Love you. Bye-bye.